in Maine. Why must I chase the cat?
Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. You always catch me jamming in the music. I got my studio, my crew jamming in the music. I know, it's getting old. I say it over and over and over. Anyway, there goes Nancy, still at it in there. Anyway, this evening I would like to bring a couple of dogs to your attention. They are actually dogs that I've been trying to promote throughout the week, for a couple of weeks actually, and we haven't had a great deal of response, and I have to give a big shout out to Judy, Helping Connecticut Canines. She took up the cause for us, and she posted them on her page and got quite a bit of attention, because Judy is fabulous, you see. If you want to know anything at all about what's going on in the rescue world, Helping Connecticut Canines Facebook page is the place to be. Judy takes her time to find out the real deal, all the good information, the accurate information, and she posts it accordingly. So thank you, Judy, for putting the word out there, and actually it's my friend Debbie who is trying to find these dogs a home, and I'm just trying to be the mouthpiece, and we do it however we can. Anyway, let me tell you about Buster and Bentley. They are, Zach, how about we get 1 through 4 up, and you can just I'll actually tell you when to flip them. That's Buster and Bentley. Buster is the tan one. Bentley is the black and tan one. They are about 1.5 years old. They were originally bought for older children, and of course they got tired of them. You could flip it, Zach. Often the case, oh yeah, I want a dog, and then, it doesn't work so well. So they're little doxy mixes. You can see Buster's got more of the classic face and lines. Bentley's got a shorter face, but still those doxy lines. They've got all the doxy moves. I did go meet them today, and they are really, really cool. But anyway, they got no attention where they were for the first part of their lives. Perhaps some bad attention, shoved away and forgotten, and not socialized. They're very fearful of things. They're of men in particular. When you first see them, they're all excited to see you, but then you make a move, and they retreat in fear. It's so sad because they want love so badly, but they're so afraid for whatever it was that their upbringing was. And a lot of that boils down to a lack of socialization, a lack of being exposed to things, living in an abusive home. And I can't say for sure what was or wasn't done, because we don't know. If only dogs could talk, then we would know a lot more about what their history and why they are the way they are. But they do have like that classic fear of hands, certain movements. You can flip it now, Zach. I went behind, that's Bentley's little face. You could see his little nose is shorter, but still very doxy. Let's get the single shot of Buster up. You got his little long doxy nose. Like I said, the more classic look. They're very, very adorable. But I went behind the counter, and I came back out holding stuff in either hand, and it kind of like scared them. They were barking at me after they'd been fine, with me prior to that. So different things, they kind of remind me of my Kelly, who came to me afraid of stuff being pulled off a counter, and screaming when you go to put the leash on her. I took them for a walk, and poor Bentley had the leash wrapped around his leg, and I was just trying to ease my way down to untangling his leg, and he screamed. I didn't even touch him. So, it really reminded me of my Kelly, because she was very much that way, and, a fear biter and all that. But, it's a lot the lack of being socialized. All right, Zach, move on to the next. We've got another shot of their two little faces. They're about the same size. They're just adorable. They're very, they want to be friendly. They're very inquisitive. They were clearly never walked outside much. They didn't know what grass was. Miraculously, they are house trained. But, for them, everything outside's a brand new experience. I'll tell you, they do need some leash training, because, the two of them together were just like pulling like crazy. But, all in time. Bentley is the more outgoing, and like I said, Bentley is the darker colored one, and Buster is more of a follower. When Bentley starts barking at something, or he wants to go check something out, Buster kind of like, oh yeah, there goes Bentley, let me see what he's up to. Or he'll, follow suit barking, and I think sometimes he doesn't even know what he's barking at. But they're just so cute. They'll come over, they'll jump up, they'll say hello. They're already very comfortable with Debbie, which is a beautiful thing, because, she's responsible for their care right now. But, it's not everybody who's going to be able to walk in and just pet them and chill with them. They're like I said, not used to being let out or being outside, so everything's a wonder for them. So you kind of have to watch them. They're not picking stuff up and eating it. They love the grass. They really, it's like a whole new world for them. Give us the next picture, Zach. This was my visit today. Enticed them with some treats. I wished I could have gotten down on the floor with them, but it was physically impossible. If I got down on the floor, I don't think I was getting back up. But they were very interested in food. I think, a lot of these dogs are very food motivated. And they knew I was sitting there feeding them treat after treat after treat, and they were fine with it. Go on to the next, Zach. And it's just another shot of where they were actually coming up, and I was trying to hold them up there with the treats, not really letting go. Like, here, you can have it, but hang on so Debbie can snap the picture, okay. But, yep, they need someone who's going to give them time and patience and a lot of just cueing into their signals, because it's not everything every time that's going to get them. It's a question of, like, right now they're being evaluated. Zach, you can flip through the pictures while I talk. Right now they're being evaluated to see what their triggers are, to see what their tolerances are. But generally, dogs like these just need someone who can exercise a little bit of sense in handling them. Let them decide what pace to go at, not try to rush anything, and just help them heal whatever their fears are, whatever their past was, to help them put it all behind them. It really does break your heart when you take a look at how much they really seem like they want love and attention. Bentley will relax a lot more than Buster. Buster was sitting there and his eyes were closing, and just like a little kid, he was starting to nod off and he would catch himself. It was kind of funny, but he just wouldn't relax at that particular point in time. As much as you could tell, he wanted a little nap. And I'll take the camera back when you're done with the next cycle, Zach. But they played with another dog when they were in that came in today. They were very interested in chasing her around and having a good time. They're very dog friendly. There was a huge German Shepherd that came in, and they were fine with him too. There was actually a guy with the German Shepherd, and they were not defensive, which was really good. So I think it's more like a loud, brash approach, someone who's not careful with movement, that's going to trigger them and be the hardest part for them to get over. If it's necessary, the two will be split. If it's deemed to be more beneficial, but we would like to keep them together. You can see where a lot of times they are each other's comfort. They're never far apart from each other. They're always side by side or neck and neck, and you can see when Buster gets upset, Bentley will kind of like come over and take over. You can see Buster kind of follows Bentley's lead too. Now there's a lot to be said for splitting them up versus not splitting them up. It may give Buster the opportunity to come out of his shell more, but for right now, I really do, the way I see it is that they be best together because they've been together their whole lives. Like I said, they're about 1.5 years old, and of course they came from a pet store, my favorite thing. They're believed to be siblings, so they've been the long road together, and unlike some other famous pairs, it'd be nice to keep them together. And they're two little dogs. It's not like anybody's asking you to take in these big mammooses that take up a lot of space. In my opinion is, if you have one, what's another one? But that's just me. Like I said, my observations this afternoon were that they would probably be good to stay together, just for their emotional health, because again, going to a new home is never easy for a dog. It's always a curve, and you're looking at, it's a curve for both of them to have been in the home that they were in. Then they did go into a foster home, and I'm going to tell you, the foster home didn't do them a lot of favors because, there was a man living in the home. There wasn't a lot of attention spent with them there either, so that's why they're not in the foster home anymore. So they've been bounced a little bit. It'd be nice to get them together where they can just sort of heal and chill. And who knows, there's been a few people that have come to visit, and they just like ran right over to them and there was no fear. I truly believe that animals pick you, and it's very possible that somebody is going to walk in that store and visit them or meet them wherever they meet them. Because Debbie does keep them with her at her store during the day, just to give them the exposure and an ease of place to come see them. Someone's going to walk in that place and they're going to be like, and that's going to be it. It's going to be happily ever after. But we kind of need that to happen sooner than later, just to get them settled and in. They will be brought up to date on their vaccinations on Monday, and they will be neutered before they go, because of course, why would that have been done before now? But anyway, that will all be taken care of, and there is an application process and a home visit that will be done if you're interested. If you do go visit them, it's a busy place, and don't just run right up to them, because it's wait for Debbie to not be busy. You can say hi from a distance, but don't go running up and try to pet them, because you don't want to scare them. And it's very possible that it would have like a bad thing happen. Like if one of them nipped you, it would be out of fear, and you don't want to put the dog in that position. You don't want to put yourself in that position. Dogs like that just need space. Like I said, I can liken their story a little bit to my Kelly, who was a little rat terrier who, went from some young couple to a pound to being adopted by an old woman who must have been kind of mean to her and very abrupt. If something fell off the counter, Kelly would like cringe, cower, run. If you grab something off the counter, she'd cower. You hate to think, why would a dog do that? What happened to that dog to bring that about? She was a nipper. She kind of like got a few people early on, but the love, the patience, the whatever you want to call it, the understanding of the behavior and not trying to trigger it and helping them get over it, that's exactly what Buster and Bentley need. I can remember a friend of mine, I was sick in bed, and a friend of mine stopped by to walk my Daisy and Kelly. And I, upstairs flat out in my bed, like dying, and I hear her scream when he went to put the leash on. It was a lot like poor Bentley screamed at me today when I was trying to fix his leg, and I hadn't even touched him. But, same thing with Kelly. If you went to pick her up, she'd scream. Why? Who knows? I don't know whatever happened to her, but I was that one person right from the get-go that she never screamed when I picked her up, So it's all about that moment, that bonding, that special connection, and that's what Bentley and Buster need, hopefully from somebody soon. And so Debbie's number, if you're interested in not hearing me babble and listen to her tell you about them or set up an appointment to go see them, is 860-426-9640. It's 860-426-9640. The woman's name is Debbie, and like I said, there is an application process. There will be a home visit. This is being done, under the umbrella of a rescue, so it's not like they need a rescue, they need a home. A foster home would be great, but foster to adopt would be better, and a real home would be the best thing in the world. So if you're at all interested, if you've got, any kind of experience with timid or shy or fearful dogs, this may be your perfect challenge, because I really think, I see the good in them. I see them just wanting to come and love you and just being afraid of what's going to happen. So, check them out. Share them, please. They're on Helping Connecticut Canines page. They're on my personal page. They're on my Posse page. Share. What that does for everybody. Anyway, it's getting to be nicer weather. And of course, I'm saying this with a frost warning for tonight. Go figure. A frost warning for tonight I got on my news text. I'm all set with that. But it's getting to be nicer weather, and people are going to be more out and about. And I'm just going to say one more time, please, on a warm day, don't leave your dog in the car. Heat stroke can happen very quickly. Your car heats up to a good 30 degrees hotter than it is outside. So a 70 degree temperature is like, really, don't leave your dog in the car, which leads me to one of my pet rants about not leaving your dog in a car unattended anyway. There's a lot of bad things that can happen. There's people who do it all the time and nothing ever happens. That's great, but there's also too many instances of dogs being stolen out of cars, and I'm not even talking about the one who was reportedly stolen out of the car, but just turned out that the wife gave the dog away and didn't tell the husband. Imagine that. The wife gave the dog away and said the dog was stolen. Nice, huh? Anyway, people today have a whole different agenda when they take your animal. I saw a couple months ago a Dragnet episode, and it was about these guys who were going around finding dogs in cars with the window rolled down. And old school cars, it was real easy to jimmy a lock. It's not like it is today where it's a little more high tech, but you could reach in, there was the button, jimmy the lock, whatever. As long as the window was rolled down, they rolled it down a little more, figuring people wouldn't figure that they left it down so far, stole the dog. And then they would look for the lost and found ad, hoping it would have a reward. And of course now they'd be like, oh, we found your dog, I want to collect the reward. Now this is 1960s, right? So go figure. That's a whole different slant on what goes on today. These days, dogs are getting stolen and being resold as pets, for one. That's probably the nicer outcome. Hey, there's a little fluffy foo-foo dog, I can steal it and make a few bucks. and that happens. But just as likely, you know, a lot of these people who are promoting dog fights will use your dog for bait. And I saw a horrible, horrible post on Facebook about a 15-year-old dog that was stolen and later found had been used for bait. The dog was almost unrecognizable. And I mean, really, if that's how you want to know that your dog died, bully for you, because I would never, ever want one of my dogs to go out like that. I wouldn't want any dog. You know, I'm so against dog fighting. But that's just one possibility of what could happen to your dog if it gets stolen. I mean, out of your yard, out of your car, all the same thing. The other thing that can happen is, you know, a lot of these laboratories will buy an animal so they can break its leg over and over, cut it open without, you know, anesthesia, barely sew it back up, just experiment on the poor thing to death. So, you know, that's another thing to consider. And I know this is like all graphic stuff, but this is stuff that actually happens. These people, you know, you wonder why I keep saying don't put your animals for free on Craigslist. Same thing, you put them in danger. I mean, there's people out there, you know, young kittens, people want to feed them their snakes. Really? Is that what you really want to know that you're, I mean, yeah, okay, so you didn't spay your cat and your cat had kittens, that's on you. Now the kittens are an inconvenience and you're just going to give them away and not care what happens. I mean, there's too much bad out in the world, and that's really what I'm trying to drive home. You know, the possibilities are endless. You know, no one's going to necessarily steal your dog to be like, hey, that's a cute dog, I want it. You know, they usually have an agenda, and it can happen in a heartbeat. You know, if your car's ever been broken into, it probably happened like in a heartbeat, like you ran into the store, ran out, and bingo. So it's the same way. They're going to grab your car. I mean, the same thing, you know, you see all these people who leave their cars running or whatever, or their car gets stolen and the dog's in it and they never see the dog again. You don't want to put your animals at risk. You know, like I said, I know there's plenty of people who leave their dogs in the car or unattended all the time in their yards. And if it's worked for you, great. But there's going to be someday where it's not. I mean, the other thing about leaving your dogs in the yard is the dangers of wildlife. You know, there really are, and I don't make this up, foxes, coyotes, hawks, all these things that will pretty much lure your dogs or just come get them. You know, a hawk can snatch up a little dog. I have a new neighbor, a little yappy Pomeranian, and that's all fine and well. You want to tie that poor dog outside, we're going to end up having a problem with that, but whatever. You want to tie that dog outside, there's hawks in my neighborhood. A Pomeranian's no different than a rabbit. Come and snatch it up. There's documented cases of it. I found out about a Yorkshire Terrier that was tied outside for just like a few minutes, and a raccoon basically ripped it to shreds. So, you know, you really, please use some thought when you're putting these animals in situations that there could never be anything that'll happen, but you got to think of the what ifs, because this world is a lot different. Like I said, it's a whole different ball game than even, like, you know, the TV episode that, you know, they were just looking to find the lost and found ad. I mean, it's not like that anymore at all. And on the same vein, if you remember my guest from last week, Ruth Stanley from Wolf Central, they're starting their educational series this coming Sunday, Connecticut, where the wild things are, where they will actually have a very experienced ACO come and talk to whoever comes about the types of wildlife you'll likely to find when you're out and about in Connecticut. You know, if you take your dog on the trails, what would you do if you found a bear? You know, there's bobcats out there too, let's not forget them. I've had personal experience with that. You know, what would you do if you found, you know, you came around a corner and there was a bear, there was a coyote, there was something that you didn't expect. You've got your dog or you're not walking a dog, it doesn't matter. So this ACO is going to give all kinds of information. There's going to be a question and answer session. You know, I think it's going to be a really good talk. And that is next Sunday, April 28th at 3 p.m. You can get details about that on my Pound Posse Presents Facebook page, or you can get the information from the Wolf Central Facebook page directly. You know, there are so many things for us to be cautious of. And, you know, I can just interject a little bit of what I know with the wildlife. You know, they say no bird feeders, don't put pet food outside, lock up your garbage. Those are good ways to keep them away from your house. You know, keep your cats inside, because I broke up a little hunt between a fox and a neighborhood cat one night right in my driveway. Heard all kinds of commotion, and I went busting outside, and I see the fox in my driveway and the cat's under my truck. So, you know, I banged the door open, because I don't know what I thought I was going to do, but I banged the door open. The fox looked at me, the cat took off, and the fox went the other way. So the neighbor's cat wasn't dinner. But that's perfect reason for you not to let your cats out, too. You know, it's not just your dogs. I mean, these poor cats go out, and they end up being lunch or dinner or whatever, and, you know, the hawks can grab them, too. So anyway, that's kind of my rant. And here are my credits. So timed well, huh? I will say to you, peace, love, and dogs. Until next week, have a great night, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. I think I heard 10 seconds. Thanks, Zach. Wave again, I'm waving. Here comes Nate, I see him. This is like the longest goodbye ever. Here's your hat, what's your hurry?